Do I have a halo behind me?
Yes, yes.
Excellent.
And it's
That,
nothing to do with the bulb.
I was quite sure. Yeah, that was nothing to do with the bulb. Yeah, yeah. I was aiming for that. कोई और तो बोल नहीं रहा है, हम खुद बोल देते हैं अपने आप को और क्या.
We enjoy life fooling ourselves, don't we?
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Folks, this is an open forum, open space. There is really no facilitation per se. Would love to hear from all of you in terms of what has been your experience of depression, living with depression, or people you know of. You can really start anywhere you want.
When I think of depression, it feels like it's a small, gloomy room with darkness around, and there's no sunshine outside and no light coming in.
I experience it more like a wave. It's very strong. It comes with a force, a huge wave. But it's for some time there is shape and size, and but it's also very fluid. Yeah, it's like a very strong, huge wave.
I feel it that there's a dark cloud around me, like the clouds before it rains. But the thing is, it does not rain. It's still dark for a very long time.
Words like relentlessness, disconnect, not belonging, no one understands, trudging along, not knowing why. These were some things I jotted down listening to that video, and they connect with my experience of depression very much.
I don't know if I'm dealing with it properly or no.
What am I to do? Should I not? Should I be sensitive? Am I being oversensitive? Am I being not sensitive?
My life right now, with no work, with no connections, with no family, only a God, who I'm not so sure if he's still around, someone to touch, someone to hug when you need a hug. Very often we don't need more than that.
With putting on a lot of weight, you tend to hate yourself more because physically you're not very attractive or you're not very pleasant. And with your color complexion, your height and everything, and you see people, okay, you've put on so much weight and this and that, they kept on saying, and it used to be very difficult for me to start a conversation with someone because I did not know what do I speak about.
I'll be there with a smile, pretending I'm enjoying, but I'm not. And they would always say, why aren't you saying anything? I have a lot I could say, but that's not my thing, So that compounded me not belonging within my gay fraternity.
Especially with family, like family gatherings and all, I used to be a very quiet kid, and I still don't know what to converse with them. Maybe because I feel the wavelength doesn't match, or maybe I feel that they might not understand me the way I want them to understand.
Essentially lose hope in myself and others.
Correct.
Yeah. And trust became very difficult to claim. The world didn't seem to be a very safe space.
Being to some extent radical in my thinking, at home, in school, in college, in professional life. I didn't ask for any of this, but God damn it, one has to just learn to accept and learn to cope with it. And I think I've done a pretty good job.
And I've told myself very early on that I am not going to be that person. I'm not going to put myself out there and need somebody. And life has also taught me that people will be in my life only in the way they can, and not necessarily in the way I want. I carry a lot of pathos around it, but I don't have any complaints.
I'm smiling, yes. I'm living with it, yes. I'm coping with it, yes. But it's not that I can't deal with it, I'm dealing with it. I'm here talking to you guys, I'm dealing with it quite well. But it needs to be resolved. Something needs to be done about it, I feel, and I don't know what to do about it.
I have often unashamedly sought company when I felt alone. I've unashamedly sought touch, even at the risk of often being needy and being turned away. Okay, which has also happened.
The reason I think I took a very willful decision in saying I want to move out and I want to start staying alone was because I have seen what loneliness and what alienation, how 35 people can, each of them can feel alienated while staying in the same house. And I think this is a myth I often hear, that having people around is togetherness. And while it could be for many, like for example, for Ahmed, obviously for you, the people, the warmth, the connect, the touch came, all in one piece. But I have seen the reverse.
Because it's something, it's associated for people who are around or who hear about depression, and the way clinically it is also explained. I think in a room full of people, if somebody suddenly talks about depression, or and there's a sudden thing, it's because it's got to do with the mind. It becomes about, this is who this person is. And I have often even heard people saying, he's such a happy personality, yeah, but such a sad soul. And I'm like, these things, they stay with you. These lines that people have said, na, pata hi nahi chalta hai. Really, she's depressed. Kitni happy personality lagti hai.
I think one of the discourses around depression, which I find very troubling, is that depression is about depressed people. Depression is about a particular context, and it's about a group of people. So when a person, it's just similar to if one person gets depressed. So for example, if I were to get depressed, it's impossible that Tuma or Ahmed will remain unaffected. Yeah, and if they're affected, then they will need to figure out, and they need to talk about what happens to them when they engage with me. One of my perspectives on depression is it's the introverted rage. It's directed at oneself. In those phases when one is very reactive, one is very mistrustful, when one is extremely touchy, and people around often don't really know what to do with it. I think the helplessness that people experience, I think that needs to be talked about. Just like the person in depression may be floundering, you're also floundering, right? And if you were to navigate, then maybe it would help if you actually talk through what happens to you when you are engaging with somebody who you find unpredictable.
It invariably seems to trigger either a real or an imagined hostility. Okay, helplessness in such cases in me seems to trigger um, either a fear of hostility, which could just be a projection. Maybe I'm just feeling damn hostile, okay, because I'm helpless and I'm drowning and I'm angry and I don't know what the hell is happening, and suddenly this person of confidence and perspective and coherence and efficacy has been reduced to this kind of small childlike person who doesn't know what is happening and where his anger is going and all that. And especially because I feel there is also this anger thing coming up, it invariably, I have to kind of, I notice that I seem to bring in I bring in the tone of hostility, which is essentially, I've come later to realize that that is essentially helplessness. Okay, an empathetic way of looking at hostility is that I am helpless. Okay. However, hostility is again something that we don't manage pretty well in our social interactions, right? We tend to get quite put off by hostility in each other. And so, even though I am depressed and I've been depressed, I can make out that my hostility. I mean, I try and keep my hostility at bay. I keep it from surfacing because I know it'll put somebody else off, especially if that person is a close person or a caregiver and whatever. So I feel this hostility and the anxiety and the fear surrounding hostility in social situation makes it really difficult for in any case it's difficult even the best of situations, meaning circumstances, even if the people involved are not depressed, but especially if the person is depressed, I feel it can be really something, it can be really difficult to negotiate, even for the caregiver. The caregiver is not, I've noticed this often, I mean, and I've noticed in others also. Some of my friends have said, as long as, I've been depressed, I've been kind of an addict and so on and so forth, people have been sort of, taken a kindly view to me. But moment I've been sort of angry and sort of assertive and so on and so forth, they kind of step back and wonder, saying, oh, this is not exactly what we were looking to do. If I struggle with helplessness and the helplessness surfaces as hostility, then it's a little difficult for everyone.
For the person who's outed, yeah, and out over here, I don't necessarily, normally we use the term outed vis-a-vis sexuality and all of that, but anything, I mean, today probably LGBT issues are far more out of the closet than mental health. Mental health is a new LGBT today.
For the times that I've kind of also consulted with organizations where there have been members and staff who have been diagnosed and who are not able to sort of be functional. I mean, it's only these times I really find myself empathizing a lot with the organization. Okay, I can't limit myself to simply empathizing with the person and saying, he's going through a difficult time. Yeah, he's diagnosed. My heart also goes out very much to the employer, and because I mean the structure of the organizational space and the contracts are not suitable for handling this kind of these kind of difficulties. Yeah.
I'd love to see all of you, especially you, Dalit, and actually everyone. I mean,
Yeah. Only Dalip. Yeah.
No, it's been very, very special, and he's jealous. Don't pay any heed to it. He's worn the halo today. He thought he was going to be the star, but you've obviously beaten him to it.
The halo has shifted since then.
But
Thank
what a
you very
lovely
much.
warm
Yeah,
evening. Yeah?
it was a lovely evening. Yeah.
It was it was a great evening.
Please note, it started with laughter and it's ended with laughter.
That's the most important thing.
Which is why we said not so depressing conversations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
See
so
you
much.
next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Continue to stay safe all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bye.